I stepped into Cartier that Tuesday afternoon with my pulse fluttering, a mix of excitement and the quiet rebellion I hadn't felt in months. The soft lighting and subtle scent of luxury felt strangely comforting. Like returning to a familiar place I hadn't allowed myself to visit in far too long. "Mrs. Johnson, it's so lovely to see you again." The sales associate approached with a warm smile. "It's been quite a while," I nodded, feeling the weight of the decision I had finally made. After months of letting my family's opinions overshadow my own, I'd like to see the diamond necklace we looked at before my husband passed. She brought out the necklace. The diamonds shimmered like tiny stars caught beneath glass. As I held it, I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just jewelry. This was freedom made tangible. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Jessica's voice cut through the moment. I turned to see her standing in the doorway, shocked to find me back in a place where I had always been myself. Her gaze bounced between me and the necklace, her expression edging toward alarm. I held the necklace gently and met her eyes with a calm I hadn't felt in years. I'm finally choosing to live like the woman I truly am. Because that moment inside Cartier wasn't simply about buying something sparkly. It was the moment I stepped out of months of guilt, pressure, and shrinking myself to make others comfortable. It was the first step toward reclaiming the life my late husband and I worked so hard to build. Before I continue, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and subscribe for more stories like this. My name is Eleanor Johnson. I'm 72 years old, living in a beautiful home in Scottsdale, Arizona. Here is how I reached that turning point and why it took over 7 decades to finally spend my own money without asking permission. My husband Robert started a tech consulting company out of our garage in the early 1980s. We worked side by side for decades. When he sold the company in 2018, we received over $18 million. After taxes and wise investing, I inherited about $15 million, along with our desert home and several rental properties. Robert passed in early 2019. His last words to me were ones I'll never forget. "Live beautifully, my love. Enjoy everything we built. But grief makes you receptive to opinions you would normally ignore." And my family had always known we were financially successful. My son Michael grew up with comfort. Private schools, European trips, college without loans. When he married Jessica 6 years ago, she often mentioned how lucky she felt to join a successful family. They were fully aware of the inheritance, investments, and property portfolio. At first, their concerns seemed loving. "Mom, do you really need that expensive handbag?" Jessica would ask delicately. "Maybe something more practical fits your lifestyle," Michael would nod. "She's just looking out for you, Mom." Soon I found myself second-guessing purchases I had made confidently for years. After Robert's funeral, the comments increased. "Mom, shouldn't we preserve this money for the grandchildren's future?" People notice how a wealthy widow behaves. "You don't want to seem careless." Each comment chipped away at my confidence until I began shrinking my life to fit their comfort. 6 months after Robert's passing, Jessica proposed regular family financial discussions. These weren't discussions, they were polite interventions. Every personal purchase became a group debate. The first major incident happened when I bought a $3,000 designer winter coat, something I had always allowed myself without guilt. "Mom, that could cover months of groceries for a struggling family. Are you sure this is the best choice?" Jessica scolded. I returned the coat the next day, feeling like a child being corrected. Then came the jewelry incident. For my 72nd birthday, I wanted a bracelet. $8,000, a gift Robert would have encouraged. Jessica found out and called an emergency family meeting. "This is getting out of control," she declared, as though I had lost all judgment. She insisted that my money should be directed toward the grandchildren's future rather than adding to an already large collection. I found myself defending my right to spend my own money. Jessica then began, involving extended family. We're all worried about Eleanor's judgment. "Lately," she whispered to relatives, her spending is becoming concerning. At social gatherings, Grandma has been shopping again. We're trying to keep her on track. I became the wealthy widow who needed supervision. I stopped visiting the boutiques Robert and I loved. I avoided stores where associates knew me by name. Instead, I shopped at discount chains trying to prove I was being reasonable. My monthly spending collapsed. Even small indulgences drew criticism. $100 skincare service? Concerned phone calls, a nice dinner out, gentle lectures about responsibility. I lived like someone barely getting by. While sitting on 15 million, the breaking point came one rainy Thursday. Jessica arranged a meeting at their home. But when I arrived, I found Michael, Jessica, my sister-in-law Margaret, and Jessica's mother Patricia, all waiting as if for an intervention. They spoke to me as though I were incapable, as though decades of managing our finances meant nothing. Jessica opened a folder filled with receipts. She had been tracking my spending like a detective. Then came the line that changed everything. Mom, we think you need professional help managing your finances. Maybe it's time for a trust with Michael and me as co-trustees. They wanted legal control over my money. Money Robert and I built together. Later that evening, I overheard Jessica on the phone. We had to stage an intervention. She's been spending like a teenager with her first card. Honestly, at 72, what does she need designer clothes for? We need to get control of those accounts soon. I froze in the hallway. They were framing my happiness as irresponsibility. My joy as poor judgment. From then on, the control became relentless. Weekly, financial check-ins. Pressure to return simple purchases. Unexpected drop-ins from Michael. Scanning for shopping bags. Comments directed at the grandchildren. Grandma bought another pricey purse instead of helping with college savings. They were teaching the children that my joy was taking something from them. Jessica even contacted my friends, urging them to monitor me. The final blow? She contacted my financial advisor without my permission. Your daughter-in-law is concerned, he said awkwardly. She suggested spending limits for your protection. My protection. That night, I sat alone in my Scottsdale home, feeling stripped of dignity. I had allowed my family to shrink my world, convinced that wanting beauty made me selfish. Restless, I walked into Robert's study, the room I had avoided since his passing. Moonlight illuminated photos of our travels. Photos of us living generously, joyfully. I opened our wedding album. Inside was a note from our 40th anniversary. Eleanor, you deserve every beautiful thing in this world. Never let anyone make you small. Live beautifully. Always. Robert. Reading his words, I felt something open inside me. Not grief, recognition. Robert never made me feel guilty for wanting something lovely. He loved that I loved beauty. Our life was built on working hard and enjoying the results. I remembered the last quiet conversation we shared before his final hospital stay. He was tired, but determined to tell me what he called his most important wisdom. Eleanor, promise me something, he whispered, holding my hand with the last of his strength. Promise me you'll never let anyone convince you that you don't deserve to live beautifully. We earned this money together. It belongs to you as much as it ever belonged to me. But what about the family? What about the inheritance? I asked, already feeling the weight of future expectations. Robert didn't hesitate. The family will have what they need when the time is right. But while you're here, that money exists for your happiness. Don't you dare live like a pauper just to make other people comfortable. Sitting in his study that night, I realized I had been doing exactly what he warned me not to do, acting as if I had limited resources when, in truth, I had every means to live fully. The phone rang, cutting through my thoughts. It was Jessica, clearly pleased with what she viewed as a successful family meeting with my financial advisor. Mom, I just wanted to let you know we've scheduled a planning session with Robert Henderson for next Tuesday. We think it's important to get professional guidance on managing your finances going forward. Her presumption lit a spark in me. You've scheduled it? Jessica, he's my financial advisor. Those are my accounts. Well, yes, of course, she replied. But as family who cares about your well-being and preserving Dad's legacy, we believe a little oversight would be helpful. Helpful for everyone, or just reassuring for you about a future inheritance? I asked. She paused, then said in a patient tone, Mom, you're misunderstanding our intentions. We're trying to protect you from choices you might regret. The only choice I regret, I said, feeling years of restraint snap, is allowing you to make me feel guilty for enjoying the life Robert and I spent decades building. You're being emotional, she said. Maybe we should talk when you're thinking more clearly. That condescension clarified everything. She was treating my defense of my autonomy as proof I needed more control, not less. After we hung up, I looked again at Robert's note and made a clear decision, as if stepping out of a fog I hadn't noticed until that moment. I would stop asking for permission to live my own life. This wasn't rebellion or spite. It was reclaiming my right to enjoy what Robert and I created together. I owed no one an explanation for how I spent my money, and I certainly didn't owe anyone my unhappiness to keep them comfortable about a future they were already counting. The next morning, I called Robert Henderson and canceled the meeting Jessica had arranged without my consent. "Mrs. Johnson, your daughter-in-law seemed very concerned about some recent spending," he said gently. "Robert," I answered, using the familiarity earned from years of working together, "I'm 72 years old. I hold more than $15 million in assets, and I've managed money successfully since before Jessica was born. If I want to buy a diamond necklace or take a luxury vacation, that's my choice." "Of course, Mrs. Johnson. I was simply responding to what looked like family concern." Noted. And declined. "My accounts are my business. Do not share information with anyone unless I provide written permission." "Understood?" "Absolutely." "Consider it handled." That call was the first step in reclaiming my power. But I needed more than safeguards. I needed a statement to myself. My first act of liberation would be buying that Cartier necklace I'd admired for months. Not because I needed more jewelry, but because I wanted it. And in a free life, wanting something beautiful is reason enough. I planned the weekend like a personal ceremony. I'd wear my favorite designer dress, the one Jessica called too young, and book a blowout at the salon I loved before I let the family convince me it was an unnecessary expense. For the first time in months, I felt excitement instead of guilt. I could see how thoroughly I'd been denying myself simple pleasures to avoid their disapproval. That Sunday night, I called my sister Helen in California, someone who knew us back when we were making it work on grit and late nights. "Helen, I need to tell you what's been happening." I explained the months of pressure, the guilt tactics, and the attempt to grab control. Helen listened, and I could hear her anger build. "Eleanor, this is elder mistreatment, emotional pressure used to limit your access to your own money." "I see that now," I said. "I thought they were protecting me." "Robert would be furious," she said softly. "He wanted you to live well. Tomorrow I'm going to Cartier to buy the necklace. And if Jessica doesn't like it, she can adjust her expectations." "Good for you," Helen said. "It's time to remember who you are, capable, successful, and fully allowed to enjoy your own money." That night, I slept better than I had in months. I dreamed of Robert smiling, proud that I was ready to live beautifully again. By Monday morning, I felt lighter, closer to the confident woman I used to be. Grief had made me vulnerable to control. But I was a 72-year-old woman with substantial wealth and decades of sound decisions behind me. I didn't need anyone's permission to spend my own money on what makes me happy. My family had grown used to a smaller, apologetic version of me, someone who justified every purchase. Tomorrow they would meet the real Eleanor J., a woman who helped build our success and intends to enjoy it. I was done living small, done asking permission, done feeling guilty for wanting beauty in my life. Tuesday morning rose with the kind of clear Arizona sunshine Robert loved. I dressed in that favorite outfit, yes, the one Jessica criticized, and had my hair styled by Maria, my longtime stylist. "Mrs. Johnson," Maria exclaimed. "I've missed you." "Where have you been?" "Living someone else's version of my life," I said. "That ends today." The drive to Cartier felt like a drive toward freedom. Every mile was a step away from the guilt-ridden woman I had become and toward the woman I was reclaiming. I was holding the diamond necklace when Jessica walked in, shocked, exactly as before. But here's what happened next. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "You haven't shopped anywhere like this in months," she said, her voice rising. "This is exactly where I belong," I told her calmly. "This is who I am beneath the guilt trips. I'm not asking permission to enjoy my life anymore." Her face flickered. Surprise, confusion, calculation. But what about the family? What about preserving Dad's legacy? What about being responsible with the inheritance? I smiled, feeling Robert beside me. "Your father's legacy was building a life where I could live beautifully. I'm honoring his actual wishes, not the version you repeat to steer my choices. As for the inheritance, I'll decide how everything is handled, when I'm ready. Today, I'm choosing my happiness." The sales associate, professional and discreet, asked, "Shall I complete the purchase, Mrs. Johnson?" Without breaking eye contact with Jessica, I handed over my card. "Yes, I'll wear it out." Jessica stared as I completed the purchase with no hesitation, no apology, no justification. The woman who had been seeking permission to spend $50 now buying a piece worth far more. "This is unreasonable," Jessica blurted out. "Think about what that money could do for the grandchildren's education. Think about what the family needs." As the associate clasped the necklace around my neck, I felt its weight as a symbol of my restored agency. "Jessica, I've considered everyone else's needs for 72 years. Today, I considered mine, and it feels wonderful." She tried one last angle. "Mom, this isn't like you. Maybe we should call Dr. Martinez to see if this kind of impulsive behavior is normal." I realized she was suggesting a medical evaluation because I chose to enjoy my own money. The audacity. "The only thing that wasn't normal," I replied evenly, "was allowing my family to make me feel guilty for living the life Robert and I earned." I picked up my purse. "I'm having lunch at the Four Seasons, then booking a trip to Italy, something Robert and I planned for years. You're welcome to join the celebration, or you can remain upset that I refuse to live like a pauper." The weeks that followed were the most liberating of my life. I leaned into guilt-free living like someone making up for lost time. I booked that first-class trip to Italy, stayed in the luxury hotels we'd researched together, hired a personal shopper to refresh my wardrobe, and rejoined the country club I'd quit because Jessica called it excessive for your age. I took art classes, pottery, and wine courses, everything I'd put off while under surveillance. Their attempts to pull me back grew more transparent. Michael phoned often. "Mom, Jessica says you're making big decisions too quickly. Maybe we should talk this through." "Son," I said gently but firmly, "these are my decisions. This is what rational looks like when it isn't filtered through someone else's need for control." They scheduled another family meeting. I didn't attend. "I'm not available for conversations that treat my money like it belongs to anyone else," I told Michael. Jessica rallied relatives to declare me erratic, but the response surprised her. Many admired my independence. My cousin Patricia later told me, "Eleanor, I wish I had your courage. I've let my kids guilt me for years. Watching you set boundaries helped me set my own." Around Scottsdale, instead of the judgment Jessica predicted, I found support from women my age who understood exactly what I'd endured. "Good for you," my neighbor Martha said when she saw the Cartier necklace at the club. "Life's too short to live for other people's approval, especially when it's your own money." Even Caroline, the friend Jessica had recruited, apologized. "Eleanor, I'm sorry. I should have recognized the manipulation." Word spread quickly that I was myself again, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. Women began sharing their own stories of inheritance-focused pressure. I learned I wasn't alone. 6 months after that Cartier moment, my life looked entirely different. I traveled, made new friends who celebrated my joy instead of policing it, and found the confidence Robert fell in love with decades ago. The family realized their guilt no longer worked. Jessica's barbs slid off like rain on glass. When she criticized my decision to renovate my kitchen with top-tier appliances, I said, "I'm creating a space that brings me joy in the home Robert and I shared. Your opinion is noted," and declined. Her last serious attempt came at Christmas dinner. "Mom, if you keep spending at this rate, there'll be nothing left for us." I looked at Michael, Jessica, and my grandchildren and spoke the boundary that set me free. "Jessica, that's the most honest thing you've said in months. You're not worried about my well-being. You're worried about your inheritance. Let me be clear, this money was never yours. Robert and I earned it, and I will spend it in whatever way brings me the most joy. If that means less is left, you'll adjust your expectations." The room went quiet. Even the children understood something important had just been established. "Mom, we just want what's best for you," Michael tried. "What's best for me," I answered, "is living without guilt for spending my own money on what makes me happy, and not having to justify every choice to people who benefit from my generosity but resent my joy." Now, nearly 2 years after that liberation at Cartier, I live exactly the life Robert wanted for me. I fly first class to places we dreamed about, wear clothes that make me feel elegant, and enjoy fine jewelry because it brings me pleasure, not because I have anything to prove. My family has found a new equilibrium. Michael respects my independence. Jessica still tosses the occasional comment, but it no longer lands. I also made thoughtful updates to my estate plan, nothing punitive, so that the generosity I showed during my lifetime is reflected in my will. Most importantly, I sleep peacefully, knowing I'm finally living authentically. To any woman who's been made to feel guilty for enjoying her success, you don't owe anyone your unhappiness. You don't need permission to spend money you earned. Your happiness matters as much as anyone's expectations. It's never too late to choose yourself. It's never too late to live beautifully. I'm 72 years old. I have the means to live the life I choose, and I intend to enjoy every moment of the freedom Robert and I work so hard to secure. That diamond necklace? I wear it often, as a reminder that I choose joy over guilt, freedom over pressure, and authenticity over other people's comfort. It's my life, my money, and my choice to live beautifully, exactly as my husband wanted for me. So that's my story. What about you? Have relatives ever tried to direct how you spend your own money? Tell me in the comments, and subscribe if you'd like to hear more stories like this.